Okay, I think we've hit the 7:30 mark. Just wanted to check. I guess good evening, everyone, and look, thanks for tuning in and joining us tonight on our webinar, Get It Right, Money Management, what others are doing that works. I just want to quickly check that everyone can hear me okay. If you'd like to just type in the chat box there, hi, and just let me know what you think of the volume, just to make sure that that's coming through loud and clear for you all. That's great. Okay. Thanks, Steve. That's good. Michael, okay. All right. Sounds like everyone can hear me okay. Terrific. David, how about you? You hear me all right?
I can hear you, Peter. Thank you.
That's terrific.
Good evening.
Good evening. All right. Well, for those who don't know me, my name's Peter Chun. I'm the founder of Zenith Property Consulting. And look, I guess tonight's really all about a 30-minute webinar based around, I guess, an increasing challenge that we found out in the marketplace with regards to, I guess, people affording or wanting to understand that they can, in fact, afford to invest. The challenge, quite simply, is, I guess, the uncertainty of affordability when looking at investing. And so we put this webinar together, especially for you this evening. A lot of people were very unsure at how much they could really afford, or alternatively, how to better manage the household budget, I guess, to ensure that they could actually afford comfortably to put some money aside for investing. So what we kept hearing, I guess, was the discomfort surrounding the home budget with cash flow specifically. That is, knowing that there's enough money and that some money, I guess, could be comfortably put aside for savings or investments, with an increasing need definitely in this day and age to become self-funded in our retirement. That's myself included. I think we're all in that same age demographic. Being able to understand and better manage our own money outcomes is absolutely crucial. And the prospect of, I guess, a retirement full of hardship and strain and money worries can certainly be avoided with the right strategies. And now that's not only from an investment perspective, but also from a money management perspective. And it's with this in mind that we decided to investigate, I guess, what it would actually take for people generally to gain a better understanding of their finances and ensure that they could comfortably put some money aside for their nest egg. And I guess speaker tonight, David Wright from Simply Budgets, certainly has all those answers. A little bit about David. Look, he's helped well over 28,000 people to leverage far greater, I guess, from the money that they have. He's appeared on numerous TV interviews, such as Channel 9's Current Affair. And look, I'm personally very pleased to be able to bring David to you tonight as he shares and provides you with some tools to better manage your money outcomes. So, good evening, David.
Good evening, Peter, and thank you.
Very welcome.
I appreciate your invitation. I wasn't sure whether you were going to say something then, but we'll get this right in a moment.
No, the opportunity, I think, was a fantastic one to get you along. I think money management is one of those things that, look, I certainly wasn't taught. I don't think people generally are taught. And there's a lot of confusion and stress and heartache, I think, associated with money. So the opportunity certainly is for us as a business to bring some valuable information to the forefront to allow people to use it. I think it's just a fantastic opportunity. So I encourage you all to get on board and listen to what Dave's got to say and use the tools that he's in a position to provide.
All righty.
Okay. Well, look, let's jump forward into I guess the presentation. I've got a disclaimer there. So, David, I'm going to hand over to you on the audio, and I'll flick the slides when you tinker me like a Tinkerbell, perhaps.
All right. Thanks, Peter. Thank you. I'm not sure how many people are out there listening, but for those of you who are, if you watch the YouTube video, you may have got a little bit of my background. I was certainly struggling with cash flow back when we had poor keating of our treasurer, and it's become a lifelong mission to, once I found the secret, to pass on the secrets that I've learnt to other people. However, everything that I'm going to talk about tonight is just stuff I've learnt from the School of Hard Knocks. I have no financial advisor qualifications. I'm not going to give financial advice. If, however, you think that something I say tonight might sound like financial advice, I can assure you it's not. If you want financial advice, you need to go and see someone who's qualified to give it. Well, I think we've covered off on that one pretty well, Peter. Let's go forward. So, look, let's just set the scene. I'll give you a bit of a reality check. If you want to just do a quick 4 or 5 clicks, Peter. 100 teenagers at the age of 15, 50 years down the track at age 65, and you've probably seen these statistics before, and I'm not 100% sure that they're dead accurate, but they give us a pretty good indication. 38 would be dead, 38 would be dead broke, 16 still working, 7 retired comfortably, and I think we've got one will be wealthy. So if you add up the numbers, you can see that 92% of people don't really achieve what we'd all like to achieve, and that's to be either very wealthy or retired comfortably doing what we'd like to do. None of us, obviously, in the first 38, or we wouldn't be on the call, but the scary thing is we don't want to be in the other 38 dead broke or the 16 still working at retirement age. So I guess if we just pop through to the next one there, Peter.
That's certainly very scary statistics, isn't it, David?
It is, yeah, and it's real. I mean, the Australian Bureau of Statistics show that the average person at 65 at the moment that retires has got less than $200,000 in their kitty, and that's got to last them for the rest of their lives. It's like considering that most people these days, I mean, earn 50 grand, 40, 50, 60 grand a year doesn't seem to be too hard. So you've got maybe 3 or 4 years and the money's all gone. So if you've got the pension, that's about what, 26,000 a year if you're a couple, and 13 or something if you're single. So I'm not going to quite go on those figures, but I know it's not fun. So we need to do something about it. But the piece of the puzzle that I've certainly been able to learn about and master is getting the cash flow right. And to me, this is the foundation that everything else sits on, because if you can't get this bit right, going on to try and create wealth, it's going to disappear as fast as it's going to over. So the question I put up here is, does anybody have money problems on purpose? And clearly there's a simple answer to that. I have never met anybody who deliberately got themselves into trouble with money. I mean, I have heard stories of the woman that went and sold her husband's Ferrari for $1 on eBay because he'd been unfaithful. So she deliberately got him into trouble with money. But I haven't heard of too many people deliberately putting themselves into financial jeopardy. So if you just click again, go to the next slide there, Peter, it just raises the question, if nobody wants to have problems with money on purpose, why do people have trouble with money? And if you ask people, most people are going to say, one more click, Peter, reveal it. Most people are going to say, it's lack of income. If I could just earn 10% more money, everything would be better. And I can remember for the first 10 years of being a school teacher, which I was for 20 years and 1 term, for the first 10 years, there was a pay rise at the end of each year. And I used to look forward so longingly to January when I would get the pay rise that was going to fix my financial problems. And after 10 years, I suddenly realised, there are no more pay rises unless I really go back and do more study. I had to take a very quick reality check because the income kept going up, but the problems didn't go away. And if you just click through to the next slide, I think this statement, whether you want to accept this or not, it's 100% the truth. Your cost of living is determined by your income. I've met people in the last 16 years since I've been covering this journey of helping people with personal budgeting, and whether they're on 50 grand a year or 150 grand a year or 300 grand a year, I've worked with people, a doctor on 300 grand a year who could not make credit card payments, could not pay his way. Every time the pay goes up, the cost of living goes up. It's an unconscious thing. It just happens. And unless you know how to stop that from happening, it's just going to keep happening as your income goes up. So whether you believe it or not, you should write this down. This is a key learning tonight. Your cost of living is determined by your income. For the next slide.
That's great.
No number of pay rises will satisfy your need for more money. It's not about income. So that's just basically putting the nail in the lid. The next one, Peter, if you just want to click again,
Sure.
You can become wealthy on a low income, and you can end up in poverty on a high income. You think about it. In the street that you live in right now, there are people who are doing worse than you on higher incomes, and there are people who are doing better than you on lower incomes. Don't go and slash your wrists over that though. Just accept it for what it is and make the decision, all right, it's time to do something about it. And obviously if you come on this webinar tonight to learn, you're doing something about it. So there are plenty of people who earn stacks of money in their life and end up broke, yet I can show you people who on very meagre incomes have created wealth. So let's move on from there and see what to do about it. So I think I mentioned before, 16 years I've been doing budgets for people or helping them with budgeting. There have been lots and lots of reasons that I've seen people struggling with money, but I've brought them down to three main categories or three main reasons. So the first one is lack of time. So either you don't have the time or you're not prepared to commit the time to learning how to fix the problems that you've got and to move forward. So I guess this is a double one, because maybe you're not interested in going and learning about financial planning and investing and what have you. That's one side of it, and maybe you're not prepared to put time into that. And the other part of it is maybe you're not prepared to spend any time at all, even to sit down and reconcile your bank statement or to do a household budget, because you're too busy pursuing your goal for whatever your passion is. You're not putting any time whatsoever in just the day-to-day housekeeping. The good news about what I'm going to tell you is that the system that I developed, and I've got to tell you I developed it by accident, and you'll see how later on, it takes about 5 minutes a week once it's set up. So it's not a huge time consumer, but it does have amazing outcomes. The next reason that I could see people struggling with money is lack of self-discipline. And at all of the seminars that I run, when I ask people these questions about why do people struggle with money, this one always comes up as a big and a very popular one. It takes so much self-discipline to manage money properly. And I actually, if I had the time, I'd explain to you in detail why that's wrong. But my simple thing around this self-discipline issue would be, if I was a smoker trying to give up cigarettes, or if I was an alcoholic trying to give up alcohol. Every time I have a drink or a smoke, I know I shouldn't be doing it, but I can't stop myself because I don't have the self-discipline. I'm addicted. Okay? That is a very clear, it's a self-discipline problem, and maybe there's a chemical thing added in there, but that's making it harder for me, but I just don't have the ability to overcome that problem. There's no self-discipline. When it comes to money, though, if you say, oh, look, it's the self-discipline problem, what you're saying to me is, I know I shouldn't be spending money, but I just keep doing it. Like, I know I shouldn't be smoking, but I just keep doing it. But with a smoke, it's very obvious you shouldn't, and you keep doing it. But with money, you have to spend money. That's why you earn it. That's not. It really can't be a self-discipline issue, because you earn it to spend it, but so it's not a self-discipline thing. It's a knowing when it's okay to and when it's not okay to. That really is the issue there. So if you ever thought it was a self-discipline issue, what I'm going to show you tonight will really blow that whole argument out of the water. And the third one I've got here is lack of information. And Peter, you said before, we weren't taught much about this at school. I'm pretty sure I heard you say something to that effect.
You're absolutely right, yes.
Yeah. So if you think about what you were taught at school about money, I'd be very surprised if, little chat box there, if you want to type in, yes, I was taught lots about money, I'd love to hear from you. But, the decade that I've been doing workshops around Australia and internationally, no one has said to me, oh yeah, we were taught all about money at school. So, yeah, there's a few reasons for that. I don't think many of the people writing the curriculum at school actually know how to manage money, because most school teachers, their retirement plans, well, I'll get my superannuation when I get to 55 or 60 or whatever. And most teachers marry teachers, so they get a double whammy at that. So that's their plan. But unfortunately, it's not really that good. And what I've found is that, what teachers know about investing and managing money isn't enough to be teaching the kids. So it's part of it. The other thing is, kids don't want to be taught anything that, like, we used to have extracurricular activities where we'd try and teach kids life skills. And they wouldn't turn up to the classes. And you'd catch them down the toilet having a smoke, and you'd say, why didn't you go to life skills? No, it's not for assessment. We don't need to go. So there's a real attitude thing there, and you know, if you think about what you learnt in your life and when you learnt it, most of the important stuff you've learnt in your life, apart from reading, writing and arithmetic, which you learnt in primary school, most of it you learnt because you were in pain and you needed a solution to a problem. So you went searching for information and you learnt. But you know, it's only when you're in pain and you need to know that you really go seeking information. And I can think of a few times when I've accidentally been lucky on an investment and it worked for me, and I didn't learn. And it was only when I did an investment that lost money that was when I learnt the rules. Because we learn from pain, not from pleasure. So we start work when we finish school, and Peter, you've done well. You jumped ahead of me there. Timing. We finish school. We've been taught nothing about budgeting or money management, and I did it, and I'm pretty certain that most of us did. We learned how to spend our entire pay packet each week. And at the time, I remember when I was 17, 18 years old, I could easily spend my entire pay each week, and it never caused me a problem because I had no commitments. I could spend the whole lot every week. And you know, I bought a motorbike. When it was time to pay the registration on that, I had 1 week out of circulation, paid the registration. The following week I was back doing what I was doing. And it was only when, you know, got married and family and stuff like that that the old pay-to-pay budgeting thing really didn't work anymore. And so if you pop to the next slide, Peter, this is what I did, and this is what I think most people will have a go at when they realise that living from pay-to-pay isn't working anymore. We'll start by writing down what our income is, and then we'll go, where does it all go? And if you get paid weekly, you'll average all of your expenses down to a weekly amount so that it makes sense. If you get paid fortnightly, well then you'll average them all down to fortnightly amounts, so it'll make sense. So here I've got, you know, John and Mary Citizen's weekly budget, the income at the top, and we always start with income because that's easy. You know, if there's mum's income and dad's income and maybe some family allowance, you've only got 2 or 3, so it's easy to add them up and write them down. And then there are the obvious ones like the groceries, the rent and the mortgage, the petrol, the entertainment. And then it becomes difficult. Okay, so the phone bill's not weekly, so you have to average it down. The electricity's not weekly, so you have to average it down. All of these other expenses that fall due over yearly, half-yearly, quarterly and so on, we've got to bring them down to a weekly amount to be able to do a budget. And at the end of that exercise, all you've been able to do, if you just want to pop through to the next slide, Peter, is you've been able to prove to yourself whether you can or can't manage to pay your bills. So the key to this, though, is it says you should be able to pay your bills. In other words, if the income on one side and the expenses on the other balance out, it should give you a warm, fuzzy feeling that says, look at that, I've got enough income to cover my expenses. But what's missing in that equation is it says you should be able to pay them, but it doesn't tell you how to do it. Now, I'll give you a perfect scary example. You've all seen a jumbo jet fly, or you know, if you haven't seen one in real life, I'm sure you've seen it on TV. So we know it's possible. But if you stuck me in the cockpit and said fly it, it'd be a disaster because I don't know how to do it. I just know it's possible. And that budget that I showed you there a minute ago is exactly the same. It says, you know, you've averaged all your expenses down to weekly amounts. It should be possible to pay your bills, but good luck doing it. And every person I've spoken to that did one of these budgets felt really good for a few days, and then the mail came with a few bills and they realised that they couldn't pay the bills, so why didn't the budget work? And in the end they just gave up on the whole budgeting idea. So if you go forward a couple of slides, please, Peter. I worked out when we had Paul Keating as our treasurer, about that time in my life, interest rates had gone up to 18%. We had good news today from the Reserve Bank. They've gone down to the lowest level, equal to the lowest level ever. I worked out that my problem was I just didn't know how to pay my bills. I knew I could, but I just didn't know how to do it. And the problem was very simple. I was having to make financial choices, if not every day, certainly every couple of days, and definitely within a weekly cycle. I had to make choices. Will we get takeaway? Will we stay home? Will we go to the movies? Will we not go to the movies? You know, can we buy some plants for the garden or should we not? Can we afford to put some turf in? You know, all of the sorts of things, and not many of them were silly financial choices that I wanted to make. I didn't want to waste money. I wanted to be really good with my money. but I found it was just too hard, and I would make choices to spend money, and later on, if you want to just click again one more time, Peter, I would find out that I guessed wrong, because that's what I realised I was doing. I was accepting that I was going to find out in the future whether I'd made correct decisions today or not. So I'd go, no, let's stay home, and then later on realise, oh, we could have done that, and it would have been better if we'd done it, but we didn't, because we were scared to spend the money. And then there were times when we spent money because we thought, oh yeah, it looks okay, we've got a few $100s in the bank, let's do this. And then a few weeks later, here's the rates or the car registration or the insurance or something. And we go, oh, we shouldn't have done that. And the whole time I was trying really hard to get it right, and the whole time I was getting it wrong. And I realised this is the mother of all money problems. We are out there trying hard to get it right, but we've got no tools, no information to get it right with. So for me, the biggest and scariest and biggest problem I had was each month when the bank statement came and it said, here's a little history lesson. Last month you did this, 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 and this, and this. And I'd look at it and go, yep, I've recorded all that in my computer. And at the bottom it would say closing balance, and I'd look at that number and think, oh, that's $250 or $150 or whatever it was, and I'd go, I wonder if we've got some spare money. Oh, I wonder if we're in trouble. I don't really know. And I don't know if you've ever, within less than a minute you can log in on your computer onto your internet banking and see how much money you have in your account. But there's something that's missing that makes all the difference. So, Peter, if you want to just click on the next slide, I'll run you through, oh, sorry, there was one more click there. Does this look like a problem? So, interest rates had gone up to 18%. We just built a new house. I had locked my interest rate in at 15% for 3 years thinking I was really clever, and I found out that I wasn't. So I'm just going to give you the scenario. And I'm just making these numbers up. So let's say that my monthly payment was $1,000. I really, really, really wanted to make sure that we didn't have the house taken off us. So I said, look, 12 monthly payments is $12,000. I got paid fortnightly, so I divided that 12,000 by 26, and I got $461.54. So I thought to myself, I need to get the paymaster to take that much money out of my paid fortnight and put it into a special account called the Save the House Fund. So luckily for me, I worked out it wasn't going to work before it was too late. But for most people, you would think, well, you're going to put 12 grand into the bank during the course of the year, and the bank's going to take the 12 grand out, $1,000 at a time times 12. Why wouldn't that work? So here's why. First fortnight, 461 went in, and I left off the cents, please excuse me for that. The second month, 461 went in, I had 922, and between that pay and the next one, the bank tried to take out $1,000 and I was in trouble. Now when I did that, I quickly thought to myself, oh, if I put $78 in as the opening balance, that'll solve my problem. But if you think about it, if I put $78 in at the top there, that negative 78 becomes what? 0. So I'm thinking, let's solve the problem, but at the moment, this starts at 0. So it suddenly dawned on me, well, if I put 78 in at the top and I get it to 0 after the first month, that's just where I'm starting in this scenario, so the next month's not going to work either. And so I grabbed a calendar and a calculator and I did the whole year in advance. What I want to do next is actually show you with my Simply Budget software, which is what I invented out of this whole journey, exactly how I totally took the stress out of my paying my bills and helped 28,000 other people do the same. So Peter, if you can just give me the
Sure can.
The Simply Budget software. And can you see that?
Bear with me. Yes, I can. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Oops.
So I set up this afternoon a very, very simple scenario to show you exactly that problem I have with my mortgage. This is the software, the Simply Budget software, as it's where it's up to now after a few years of development. It's very simple. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, and a few other buttons. So if I go to Step 1, you can see I've created a budget here called Webinar. I click on Step 1. There's personal details. Now, I think there's a bit of a time lag, so I'll just go slowly. So I've got my name there. That's all it needed to go in. Step 2, Step 1, the second tab, financial details. All I need to do here to get this started is put in the start date. So I've got today's date there. My pay was fortnightly, so I put in here, I selected from the list 2 weekly. Now, I couldn't call it fortnightly because in America they haven't got a clue what a fortnight is, so I had to get around the problem, so I made it 2 weekly. And the next payday I put in is Friday this week, so just a couple of days away. That's all that needs to happen on this tab. I can go save and exit. The rest of it's just all stuff that we don't need to know about right now. So I've put in a start date, a pay date, and a pay frequency. Step 2, there's an income tab. So I've put in the income. At this stage I won't worry about additional income. I just put, okay, my income was $1,500 a fortnight, starting on Friday. So that's the income taken care of. Regular expenses. So I ended up realising there were 3 types of expenses. Ones that fall in a yearly cycle, called regular expenses. Ones that fall on a 10-yearly cycle, which is replacing the refrigerator, the television set, the washing machine, things like that. And then there was saving for unpredictable items that might be once in a lifetime, saving up for an around-the-world holiday, or maybe it's saving up for a daughter's wedding, or it could be saving up for something that might happen, or it might not, but you just think it would be a good idea to put money aside for it. Let's at this point just focus on regular expenses. So just to show you this, the mortgage. If I just click down, I'll leave everything blank except I've just put the $1,000 beside the home mortgage, and I've said it's due on the 28th of December. It's a monthly payment. Right, so that's all I needed to do. Step 1 and Step 2, I can save and exit. I put in my income frequency and my first payday. I put in the mortgage in Step 2. Let's have a look at the budget and see what this actually looks like. So to the untrained eye, you could look at this and think, well, that looks like a saw blade. I'm hoping that you can see that.
That's come up fine, David.
So what we can see here is there's a blue line and there's a yellow section. And then down the bottom, there's a whole bunch of numbers and dates. So down the bottom is the start date today, opening balance of 0. And then my first payday on Friday, $461 was going to go in. My next payday 2 weeks after that. And then the bank trying to take out a mortgage payment of $1,000, but I was short by $76.92. And it basically goes through the whole year, 2 pays in the mortgage payment, 2 pays in the mortgage payment, 2 pays in the mortgage payment. Right, very boring. And the graph up the top shows you exactly the same information, but in a much useful format, because we can actually see the picture or the story of what's going to happen. So you can see that if I tried to do what I'd set out to do with a 0 starting balance, for the first 4 months in a row I was going to get a nasty letter from the bank and probably, please move out, we're going to send a house letter at the 4th month, because I'm below 0 every time they try to take out their payment, and it's getting worse. So the yellow section shows what's going to happen if I pursue this plan. The blue line though says this is the way you should do it. And if you look just below the graph, it says ideal regular plan, opening balance $307.69. Primary income, $461.54. Your regular plan, so I've got, this is what it should be like, and now it's my opportunity to make it look like how I can make it work. So if I didn't have $307, I'd be in trouble. At this point in time, I've got 0 as an opening balance, and you can see the problem. If I put in $307.69 as my starting point and recalculate, and I'll just give it a couple of seconds to come through for you guys, suddenly I've gone, okay, I know exactly how to get my bills paid, my mortgage paid for the next year, and know for the whole year it's all taken care of. I just needed to put $307, $308 in at the start, and the $461 will work perfectly. Now, this totally changed my life because I realised my mortgage payment was not the only expense that I had in my life that was predictable like the mortgage. And I started to put in, Christmas, my wife's birthday, the car registration, insurance, telephone, so many things that are predictable in your life that you know are going to happen. You've got a pretty fair idea how much they're going to cost. You know how often they happen. You can put them in this system, press the button, and it will tell you what your ideal opening balance would be and how much of your pay needs to go aside into this account, so that when the day arrives, the money pops up and says, I'm here for the mortgage, I'm here for your wife's birthday, I'm here for your Christmas shopping, dump, 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 dump. So you can then just set and forget, and the 5 minutes a week is really a case of just having a quick check and going, tick, 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 yes, I've done that, I'm down to here, I should have $76 in the bank, jump online and check, oh look, I've got $80, I'm okay. And that's it. So that's just sort of blew me away. Just to show you what would happen though if you didn't have the $307, because a lot of people when they start this, Peter, it might say that the opening balance on the ideal plan is, say, $1,000. They check their bank balance and find they've got $250. Now, that's a common thing, and it's not because we're stupid or incompetent or anything like that. It's simply because we didn't know where we were supposed to be. And so if you don't know where you're supposed to be, it's very hard to be there. Whereas if you have the numbers, even if you find, like I could put 0 in here and recalculate this like I had before, and I can see that there's a problem coming, and simply Budget said to me, oh look, for a little while you're going to need to put in 500 instead of the 461. So I go, okay, I'll put in the 500, recalculate the budget. Yes, it's going to cost me an extra $40 a fortnight for a little while, but you can see that I've solved the problem. Now, I've got the first 4 months covered, and look, it's not rocket science. You can see 2 lots of 500 give me the $1,000 that I'm going to need to pay the $1,000 payment. But you can also see after 4 months that I can stop with the extra money, and I can go back to Plan A, which was the 461, because at that point, you can see me wiggling my mouse there, I'm caught up. I don't need to go where the yellow goes above the blue. There's no point doing that. I could be using that money for something else. I could spend it or I could invest it, but I don't need it to be there. So it helps me, A, to know where I need to be, and it helps me to catch up with myself if I've got a problem. And for so many people, when they see this, the lights go on and they go, no wonder I've been having trouble. And everything I've ever tried in the past didn't factor in this third dimension, which is timing. If you do your budget two-dimensionally, you've got in on one side and out on the other, and it never works until you bring in the timing. And you can just see, here you've got the next 12 months in a crystal ball. You can see it before you even start the journey. And obviously this is just a one expense budget, but it's a very simple case of clicking on regular transactions, adding in, the groceries or whatever else you want to put in there, and when you come back, it'll tell you what that should look like, and then you just do exactly what I was doing here a minute ago, tweak the numbers, put in how much you do have in the bank, and work out the plan. Then you can just set that aside in a special bank account, and when those days arrive, the money's going to pop up and say, here I am, ready for these expenses that you planned for. What do you think of that?
That's great, David. I've got a couple of questions here for you, and one of them is just pertaining to if a particular client's looking at an investment opportunity and they are wanting to put some money aside, perhaps for a deposit to get them into that that first acquisition. How would that translate to your software specifically?
Okay. So under this regular transactions, which is step 2, there's a little shortcut button here. I just did one regular expense. We would go over to the Savings tab, and we would put in here, in fact I think I've got one, investment fund. I might put in here, look, what would happen if I put $25, and I just press the letter P to put in payday. That's a shortcut. I'll do this fortnightly, because that's how often I get paid. And save and exit. And now when I come back to the budget, I've got the regular planner, which the regular plan hasn't changed because that's not part of that deal. Long-term plan I haven't done yet. Savings details. Now it's introduced $25 a fortnight. That's $7,000 over the first actually it's over 20 years to 2020, 21. So, I can try different numbers, a bit of trial and error, experimenting until I come up with a plan so that I can actually see it's affordable and that, I can achieve my target. Does that answer the question?
That does. That's great, David. That very easily demonstrates over a period of time what can be accumulated. And I imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, that by looking at the regular planner, your long-term planner and your savings detail, probably in conjunction with your budget and credit card details, you're able to get a very clear understanding of exactly what's happening to your money as it comes in, and more importantly, as it goes out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've just, because of the constraints of time here, I've just simplified it down to just putting in one regular expense. It would be a very quick thing to go add a few more in. In fact, maybe what I should do is go save and exit and go File, open an existing budget and pull up John and Mary Citizen, the sample budget that's actually loaded in the software.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have a look at that one, it'll probably give you a more realistic real-life scenario. So they had a catch-up situation. Opening balance was 8,700. They didn't have it. They only had 5,900. So they've had to put in a little bit extra money each pay to sort that problem out. It's only temporary. By the time they get to month 3, they will have caught up and they can change that. In their long-term planner, they need to put $2.62. I've actually been playing with this and I messed it up, but don't worry about that. I think I've only got one expense in their long-term plan, and I should have $100 up front to kick it off, so I'll put that in there and recalculate that. So this would be the fridge, the washing machine, the telephone. If I go to the regular transactions list, I think I've only got a couple of driver's licenses in there, so you can put the fridge, the TV, the washing machine, the hot water system. Anything that you own, when it drops dead, you need to replace it, belongs in here. And then under the savings tab, actually, I was playing with John and Mary Citizen's budget, and I messed it up, so I goofed there. Sorry, I would have been better off not even doing that. But that gives you an idea of what a budget looks like when you put a lot more expenses in there. And it's just a case of, going through the list, putting in the ones that you want to put aside in a special account, making sure you've got all those regular expenses covered so that there'll be no surprises. Long-term planner so that you've got tyres for the car, battery, washing machine, all of those things so that that's all covered. And then you can go to the savings and go, okay, if I want to start saving up a deposit for an investment or whatever it might be, let's experiment with some numbers and let's see what we can afford. And at the end of it, you end up with this plan. And if you just go to print reports, there's a couple of really great reports here. One that people like a lot is the calendars. So basically everything, you can hang this on the refrigerator door, and it just basically says here on the 8th of October, for example, the target balance at the end of the day was $3,196, and we had some payments to make for children's activities. We had a gas bill. Everything that was expected to happen is all listed there, so you can basically at the end of the week just tick off, yes, done that, done that, done that, done that, done that. Here we are today. Jump online, check your bank balance and see if you're close to that number there. If you are, the plan's working and everything's fine. And there's, it totally changes the way you look at money, whereas before it was, oh no, it's Christmas soon, where's the money coming from? It's, oh look, I've got $1,000 scheduled in for the 1st of December, I can go and pull it out and I know I can go Christmas shopping. And all the way during the year, every bill that you've got to pay is accounted for. So long as you don't put numbers in there that are just totally unrealistic and under budget, it's, money pops up and says, I'm here ready to be spent. So it just works gangbusters.
That's great,
Any
David.
Other questions? Any questions? I mean, it's been very quick, and I goofed a little bit there because I forgot that I'd messed up my sample budget, but you'll have to forgive me for that. I apologise.
That, David, just with regards to, I guess, the software itself, it looks fairly simple to use, which certainly is one of the things that that attracted me to it. What have been some of the comments and the feedback in terms of people, I guess, initially approaching you, meeting with you? Obviously, they are having some financial challenges. that's obviously weighting heavily on them, and I'd imagine a lot of stress would also come along with that package. And using your software, what's been the outcome, and on a positive note, that has really helped? And yeah, maybe just give us a little bit of feedback on that.
Mm. Well, I offer 100% money back guarantee for 365 days. So because all of what I do is done online, people are a bit scared about the internet, so I've made it just a ridiculous guarantee. So no one's taking the risk when they purchase from me. So 365 days, get your money back. So out of 28,200 and something other orders, sales, I wouldn't have had 100 refunds. Okay? Most of the refunds that I had were in the early days when it was a 30-day guarantee, and they were from people who would send it back before the 30 days was up because they'd been too busy to look at it, and they didn't want to own it and not have the opportunity to return it without having played with it, which is why I decided to extend the warranty to 365 so that they had time to do it. So the percentage, say it was 100 out of 28,000, it's a very small percentage just sent it back or wanted a refund.
Yeah,
but that's there as protection. The people who use the software, overwhelmingly what they tell me in their emails or their phone calls or what they send me is, my stress has gone. Where I used to be stressed all the time about will I be able to pay the bills, now they know in advance that the bills can be paid. And it becomes a game, because like you can see that graph on the screen there. That one there is actually, it starts the year at about 5,000, ends the year at about 20,000. Now that plan was never meant to be taken through the full year. If I click back on my regular plan, you'll be able to see the overlay of the ideal plan, and you can see that after about a month and a half, it would have been time to change the plan because this is what I call a catch-up budget. It starts low by about $2,000 to $3,000, so there's a bit of catch-up to be done. So after that catch-up period, the budget would end the year at about $8,000 or $9,000, not $20,000. So they know in advance where they're supposed to be, and the game is to get ahead of the plan. Because when you've got spare money, you've got choices. The biggest problem that most people have is they never know if they've got spare money or not enough money. They look in the bank balance and they've got money, but they've got no idea if it's too much or not enough. And so consequently, back to what I was talking about before, you're guessing the whole time. Can we afford to do this or not? Should we or shouldn't we? I don't know. And if you say no, you might regret it. And if you say yes, you might regret it. So, this takes the guessing out of it. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, David. It's terrific. I'm going to probably just mention at this point that, look, David and I have put together a special offering on tonight's webinar for the particular software. And I'll just come back and present that to you. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. And would encourage you all to go online, and I'll actually publish a direct URL link just in the chat section there. Let me know if you can't see it. And if you copy and paste that into your URL, there's a coupon code there as well, the Zenith 007, and that will give you in excess of 20% reduction on the software. That, as David mentioned, has a full 365-day guarantee on that product. And look, I encourage you to go online, secure your software, work through that, and I guess be in a position to manage your money better moving forward, and certainly understanding cash flow. So look, I'd like to leave it there. Sorry, David, go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I know that your property, your whole thing is about helping people to invest in property, and for a lot of people, property is hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it just seems like it's unachievable, I think is the word. But little amounts add up to big amounts, and you get this bit right, and the sky is the limit what you can achieve with the right advice the right tools and the right advice, and just it just makes so much difference. So I really encourage people to, if they've been struggling with their cash flow, and just stress each week. And I hear people say all the time, I earn good money, but there's never any left over for me. This is the game changer. Sorry, back to you, mate. I couldn't help but say that.
So thank you, David, and I certainly couldn't agree more. As I mentioned, the reason for tonight's webinar was really about, a lot of people wanting to move into, I guess, the investment property sphere, all with a purpose of being in a position to, accumulate some wealth for their nest egg, to be self-funded in their retirement. And some of the concerns, I guess, really were around affordability. So, look, we hope that you've really enjoyed this evening's presentation. We hope that the information presented was of benefit. There's certainly some great information and tools there on the software that David, over a very long period of time, has developed and perfected. And again, we'd like to encourage you just to go online and pick up your copy of the software and move forward. And I guess until next time, we'd like to sign off and wish you a very good evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, David.